Mattson Tomlin and Andrea Sorrentino pit the Batman against an imposter as someone dressed like the Caped Crusader begins killing off criminals, causing a young detective to begin piecing together just who is the Batman. Mattson Tomlin delivers quite the interesting take on Batman and his world as he sets up his murder mystery detective story. I quite enjoyed how much like Jeff Lemire's Joker Black Label book The Imposter is, and how it uses Batman as an element in the story, much like how that Joker story used Joker as sort of a force or an element in that story. He's a character in it, sure, but it's not the one we get narration from or a first person's perspective from like we usually do in a lot of his comics. In fact, the book is mainly about a new character, Detective Wong, who is piecing together these crimes Batman supposedly did, which is a great way to have these books told and a great way to explore the legend of Batman through the eyes of a young police officer who has known about him for a little bit and is sort of trying to piece together who exactly this person is. Leslie Tompkins is also another rather integral part to the story, and I love the concept of Bruce having to go from Batmaning it up during the night and beating up criminals to therapy in the morning with Tompkins, and it's quite a unique way of broaching Bruce's psychological problems and discovering how and why he decided to become Batman. It's not the usual, he just tells you the origin, you've got to kind of like pick out the layers, which Tompkins is doing and did throughout this issue. So I'm very much looking forward to getting to explore more of that through this unique way. Andrea Sorrentino again just outdoes herself in the artwork department for the book, painting these lovingly intricate spreads depicting Detective Wong's police work or Batman's crime busting. I really did also love the portions that show Gotham City as a whole, from the night sky from Batman's perspective down to like the streets during like crimes. And I loved the 1970s look with all the old brownstones and how she does this really great thing where it makes it look like the streets are just endless and just go off into like this white or dark void. I thought that was really quite unique and interesting. Batman the Imposter issue 1 was a really unique and interesting take on what could have easily been a cookie-cutter crime story, using its time to focus on characters other than Batman and using the hero as a type of force or element within a larger detective story. I'm going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10. Batman the Imposter issue 1 finds Leslie Tompkins awakened to a huge crash somewhere in her home. Upon investigating, she finds a passed out Batman on her floor. Removing his mask, she learns that the Batman is Bruce Wayne. She knows the hospital is the best place for the bleeding out hero now, but hesitates to make the call, thinking of how much pain brought Bruce to this point in time. Remembering how his parents were murdered and how, when he was young, Bruce was sent to her, diagnosed with many anxiety and PTSD related issues. She knows he feels rage, which she is sure is and was his compass for the last 6 years when he disappeared, and how she told him to control that rage, otherwise it would kill him. Later on, Bruce awakens all patched up in the care of Leslie, who says that she didn't call the cops or tell anyone Bruce Wayne is the Batman. He asks for his clothes and she wonders if he means the costume he dresses up in to assault people in every night. Leslie demands he sit down, wanting to know what beat the hell out of him, and if he doesn't tell her, she will call the police. Bruce knows it was relatively a quiet night, as hours before he stops a robbery, but the store clerk ends up being shot as one of the robbers takes a boy hostage, demanding the Batman surrender. Batman throws a batarang at the man, distracting him long enough so the boy is let go and Bruce can dive through the shop window. As the robbers make their escape, Batman finds himself bleeding out. The robbers make it to the street, killing a man for his car and racing away as the Batman, now on his motorcycle, gives chase, throwing a smoke bomb into the car and causing them to crash hard. Dragging the men out of the car, he snaps one of their arms, breaking the other's leg as the man begs for mercy. His partner throws a knife which sticks into Batman's hip, but he pulls it out and beats the man unconscious, leaving them for the cops. Bruce says that he lost consciousness on the way back home, ditching the bike and heading to Leslie's. He asks if he came there to die or for help, but Bruce knows that either would suit him. Leslie wants to know how all of this happened to him, as Bruce remembers the bats, telling her that he went to the ends of the earth to learn to control and purge himself of fear and become it. Leslie knows that sounds insane and he needs psychological help, but Bruce knows that she has helped enough. Leslie has had enough, knowing that Bruce is a Wayne, and if he wants to fight crime in Gotham, then he should start a foundation or run for mayor or even president. Bruce leaves and she tells him that if he goes, she will call the police and he will be locked in Arkham within 6 hours. She wants him to convince her not to call the police, or he can just kill her, but he knows that isn't what he does, since he would be like the criminals if he did that. She tells him again to explain why he does this, so Bruce, after a moment, tells her that he's making a difference. Bruce knows that last week, Gotham had its first night with 0 violent crimes in 54 years, and it didn't happen because the cops or the mayor or the DA, it was because of him. Leslie knows that while that's the case, it doesn't mean it isn't a danger to himself. She says that she is scared for the man, so she hastily drafts up a document that says legally, as her patient, he is now protected and his conversations are protected, knowing that she cannot break confidentiality unless there is imminent threat to him or someone else. But Bruce knows there's always a threat, but Leslie tells him that every morning he will come to see her at dawn and they will talk about what he's doing and they will do it together. Bruce agrees to this, signing the document, as the next day, Detective Wong meets with Mr. Stitch, an associate of Mr. Wesker of Wesker Capital, who says that they appreciate the GCPD's help in this matter. The detective is taken up in an elevator, told by Stitch that someone copied one of their access keys 2 months ago and the same thing happened again recently. He says they found more zip lines on their construction sites, as Stitch says that they believe this to be the Batman. Wong is shown some blurry camera footage that might be the Batman zipping across a rooftop, as well as a man Stitch knows isn't part of their usual construction crews, with others assuming that he was just a new hire. Wong knows that with all of Wesker's cameras around the city, giving access to GCPD might help things run a little bit quicker, but Stitch merely says that he'll talk to Mr. Wesker about that. Soon the detective is brought to see Mr. Wesker, who wants to know what the cops are doing about the Batman problem. Wong knows he's just a concerned citizen, but the old man reminds her that his company pumps $23 billion into the city's economy, thinking this means he has a say, and as he puts it, he's not a concerned citizen, he is Gotham. Wong chooses her words carefully, knowing that while he is a pillar of their community, and they appreciate what he has done, he isn't Gotham City, he is a private citizen and she cannot discuss the Batman case with him. Wesker isn't too pleased, knowing that Batman is bad for business, since it's not just his business, since the Sionis family are thinking about moving out of town, and Wayne Enterprises had a building blow up the year before. He knows while all the Batman's antics sell papers, it won't be long until some powerful people decide to do something about it. Wong sees herself out as Wesker says that she is a stellar detective and they are all rooting for her. Wong picks up on the threatening undertones of that comment as she leaves the office. On her way down the elevator, Wong encounters a strange man who babbles to himself in 2 different voices. She knows the man is Arnold Wesker as he shushes himself and gets off on another floor. Wong knows that's the son Wesker never sees as she heads into the city, thinking about what the old man said to her and if the Batman's presence really is having an economic effect on the city. She thinks this could all just be some type of corporate espionage thing, wanting to look into it for any patterns in Batman's sightings in the past. Arriving back at the precinct, she is called into the Task Force Bat offices, meeting with a new team made up of people she recognizes as well as some she doesn't. Her captain gets the meeting underway, revealing that the Batman has finally gone and done it and killed someone. He shows the team some footage of Batman kicking a group of hostages from a rooftop, with Wong finding that Wesker Capital sent the footage over, something she finds quite interesting as she remembers the man's words about powerful men doing something about this. Hatcher thinks the men must have been criminals if Batman was kicking them off rooftops, and the captain confirms they all were, and they were all residents of Blackgate until DA Dent's charge against the corrupt courts got their cases overturned and they were released. Hatcher thinks that Batman did some good then, but the captain yells at him to cut that out, reminding them how damaging Gordon's escapades with the Bat Freak were on the department. The captain makes it very clear that the Batman is not their helper, he is a criminal, and they are to bring him to justice. Wong takes a ride through the city, going over what they know about Batman so far, knowing it's been 3 years since he appeared, with many thinking him to be a vampire giant flying around the city, breaking people's kneecaps. She knows that none of the people who saw him or even the criminals who saw him know where he goes, and her investigation for 2 years has gotten nowhere. She does know that he is heavily armored and always leaves a myriad of zip lines across the city, which explains how he apparently flies. She also remembers coming across at least 12 impounded bikes so far, each identical with the VIN numbers filed off, knowing that they were all hidden around the city. She knows with all the bikes and the armor and the zip lines, it wouldn't be cheap to be Batman, so maybe he's wealthy and from a military background, or at least has access to wealth. She knows that this and the murder angle don't really add up for her yet, but she'll keep looking into it. Later on, Leslie bides her time until it's dawn the next day, but Bruce doesn't show. True to her word, she prepares to call 911, but Bruce appears at the last moment. She demands to know if the papers are telling the truth, and the Batman now kills, but Bruce says that he thought she knew his profile, and that wasn't like him. She demands he take off the mask when they are speaking, so he does, as Bruce tells her that there is an imposter and someone is out there pretending to be him, knowing it's quite brilliant since he is left with the blame of their killing sprees. Leslie asks if he's had any lead, and he's been asking around, which to Batman means beating the scum of Gotham until they give him some intel, learning from the Lohman family, the Skeletons, and even Cobblepot that they have no idea who the imposter Batman is. Leslie knows that he's happy about their fear, and Bruce knows that fear is the most vicious weapon, and it's useful. Leslie tells him that the police have tolerated him because he has made their jobs a little easier in ways, but if they believe he's crossing the line, that justification goes right out the window. Bruce knows that he will stop this imposter, and Leslie implores him to do it quite quickly, as elsewhere in the city, Otis Flanagan, the rat catcher, gets ready for another job, with the owner of an apartment building wanting the rats dead, but Otis says he tries to be humane to them. The man gets irate since he isn't using poison, telling Otis to do his job before he makes him eat the rats himself. Ratcatcher gets to work, knowing the people hate rats for a myriad of reasons, be it their quickness or long faces or teeth, and everyone likes dogs, yet they have all those same features and can even attack people, but people still like them. He knows people think they are better than rats, but people really aren't. After trapping the rats and setting in for some lunch, Otis is robbed by a masked man who takes his wallet. Having enough of everything, he climbs to the top of a building, not understanding why everything is so horrible and everyone hates him. He knows that he tries to be friendly and help, but the only kindness he has ever felt is from rats. Batman suddenly appears, making the man wonder if he's there to kill him. The Batman stays silent and in the shadows as the tearful Otis says that the hero saved him once from some people who were going to throw him from a bridge after he heard something he shouldn't have. He says that he knows about the Batman's bikes in the sewers, saying that he can keep them a secret, and he can even show him some other tunnels that only he knows about. Blair meanwhile continues piecing together her puzzle, finding even more motorcycles and tallying them up to a whopping $1.3 million worth just lying around. She wants to knock on some of the doors of the rich in town as she looks over the 3 recent killings by Batman, knowing that this could be a potential vendetta against them. She asks around with Cobblepot and Sionis, but no one is helping her. But she feels like she is honing in on something, but can't quite articulate what that is yet. Bruce meanwhile knows he needs to connect the victims of this imposter, but knows that each of them are so different from one another and didn't even live close to each other. Suddenly there is a knock at his door, and Bruce is surprised to find Detective Wong there, asking to talk to him about the Batman.